You stand for everything I hate. Powerful words in an open letter published to the WallStreetBets subreddit, the group behind this incredible movement in GameStop and other unloved stock prices, as well as a wider bout of stock market volatility that we've seen today. In this video, let's take a look together at the open letter, which explains some of the reasons why retail investors are rallying behind GameStop and attempting to bankrupt a few hedge funds in the process. It's pretty juicy stuff. Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner, personal finance YouTuber and money author. On this channel I talk about personal finance, investing and happiness. I make these videos to help you become wealthier and happier. If that sounds like a great result, click on that little red subscribe button, go on, become part of our subscriber community. It's completely free and you'll never miss an episode. Now before I go through this letter, a little bit of context if you've been living in a cave somewhere or under a rock on Mars and you've not been following the WallStreetBets and GameStop story. This Reddit forum, with around 4 million members and rapidly growing, is attempting to, and it's had quite a bit of success so far, but it's attempting to significantly inflate the stock price of GameStop, a pretty much unloved US retailer. They targeted GameStop to create what's known as a short squeeze, to force the hedge fund managers who are shorting the stock in the hope that the business will become bankrupt to sell out of their positions. What's a short? So in simple terms, if you expect the price of a share to fall, you can borrow that share from another institution and then sell it. Let's say that you borrow 100 shares, they're worth £20,000, so £200 a share. You borrow them and then you sell them, raising £20,000 in cash, but you owe the investor you borrowed them from £20,000. Your hope as a short seller, as a hedge fund manager, is that the share price will fall and you can make some money. So let's say the share price falls to £10 a share, down from 20 a share. When that happens, you're able to buy the shares back, but at a lower total cost, so £10,000 instead of £20,000. You can give the new shares back to the original owner, and you can pocket the difference, pocket the profit. In this case, £10,000, the difference between the original price and the new price. But what happens when the share price heads in the other direction? Well, at some point you have to buy the stock back at its higher price, so you make a loss. If the price of a share that you borrowed rises to say £50 a share, it costs you £50,000 to buy them back, and you lose £30,000 on your short. What's a short squeeze? Well, this happens when the stock price goes up sharply, so the hedge fund managers are forced to buy that stock to cover their positions, or they risk losing an even larger amount of money. But the act of them buying the stock back actually contributes to a rising stock price, so pushes it ever higher. That's what's been happening with GameStop after this Reddit forum, WallStreetBets, and its users colluded to artificially inflate its price, sending it soaring higher and placing a real squeeze on the hedge fund managers who have been shorting it. But what's motivating hordes of retail investors to, in their words, send this stock to the moon? This open letter from Reddit user Sauron, Lord of the Rings reference there possibly, aims to shed a little bit of light on the motivations. They start by referring to the 2008 global financial crisis when they were in their early teens, saying, "I vividly remember the enormous repercussions that the reckless actions by those on Wall Street had in my personal life and the lives of those close to me." Their family didn't lose their home like so many in America did at that time, but the economic crisis clearly had an impact on their lives, saying, "We lived off pancake mix and powdered milk and beans and rice for a year. Ever since then, my parents have kept a food storage and they keep it updated and fresh." There was financial trauma for those close to them. Their aunt, for example, who had to move in with their family. Their parents, once they had recovered their income, were able to help out others during their time of need. I will forever be so proud of my parents, because in a time of need, even when I have no doubt money was still tight, they had the mindfulness and compassion to help out those who absolutely needed it. Sauron then addresses Melvin Capital. This is one of the hedge funds shorting GameStop. To Melvin Capital, you stand for everything that I hated during that time. You're a firm who makes money off exploiting a company and manipulating markets and media to your advantage. They go on to say, your continued existence is a sharp reminder that the ones in charge of so much hardship during the 2008 crisis were not punished. There is then an an allegation of illegality, which I don't want to repeat in this video for fear of being sued, but addressing the wider Wall Street fraternity, they say, your ilk were bailed out and rewarded for terrible and illegal financial decisions that negatively changed the lives of millions. So with this hatred as a motivation, here's what Sauron and so many others on WallStreetBets did, in the words of their letter. I bought shares a few days ago, I dumped my savings into GME, paid my rent for this month with my credit card, and then dumped my rent money into more GME, that's GameStop stock. This isn't, by the way, a course of action that they recommend, certainly not a course of action that I recommend. Please don't invest your rent money in the stock market, it's a really foolish thing to do. They go on in the letter to say, this is personal for me and millions of others. You can drop the price of GME after hours, $120. I'm not going anywhere. You can pay for thousands of Reddit bots. I'm holding. You can get every mainstream media outlet to demonize us. I don't care. I'm making this as painful as I can for you. They then turn their attention to the media. One of the things that members of this subreddit believe is wrong with Wall Street is a cozy relationship between investors, institutional investors, and publishers. So addressing CNBC, they say, you must realize your short-term gains through promoting institutions' agenda is just that, short-term. Your staple audience will soon become too old to care. And the millions of us, not just WallStreetBets, but every person affected by the '08 crash that's now paying attention to GameStop, are going to remember how you stuck up for the firms that ruined so many of us and tried to tear down the little guys. They then list CNBC sponsors and partners, inciting the attention of fellow Reddit members towards them, and then addressing the baby boomer generation, the boomers, who are now starting to pay attention because of so many press headlines in recent days. They say, you realise that even if you weren't adversely affected by the '08 crash, your children and perhaps grandchildren most likely were. We're not enemies, we're on the same side. Stop listening to the media that's making us out to be market destroyers and start rooting for us, because we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to punish the sort of people who caused so much pain and stress a decade ago, and we're taking that opportunity. So this is asking the wealthy baby boomer generation to stand on the side of their children and grandchildren instead of siding with Wall Street institutions. They are not asking them to risk their pension pot by investing in GameStop, but just to be, in their words, understanding, supportive, and not to support the people that caused so much suffering a decade ago. There's praise in this letter to fellow members of WallStreetBets. You are all amazing. I imagine that I'm not the only one that this is personal for. I've read myself so many posts on what you guys went through during the '08 crash. Whether you're here for the gains, to stick it to the man as I am, or just to be part of a potentially market-changing movement, thank you. This letter really gets to the heart of what's going on here, what's going on this week, and it's important to understand. Is it simply the chickens coming home to roost after so many senior people in the finance sector escaped punishment for their role in the global financial crisis? I think it's hard to watch a movie like The Big Short, for example, and not wonder how those taking such big risks, irresponsible risks, escaped custodial sentences. In many cases, they're still allowed to continue trading in the 11, 12 years or so since. This generation of new investors seems to absolutely hate Wall Street investment firms, everything they stand for, especially those who are trying to profit from the demise of once beloved businesses. There is a huge amount of nostalgia at play here. Wall Street, don't mess with the brands that we loved and the brands that we love. Is the global financial system corrupt? I think that's a label too far. I think that's a leap too far, despite the passionate arguments seen on WallStreetBets and in this open letter. But there are elements of the system, of the global financial system, which are in desperate need of reform. There are some reports today of mass panic at investment firms in the US and also here in London, with one hedge fund portfolio manager in Mayfair in London telling Financial News London that the retail folks are targeting every stock with a lot of short interest, and another portfolio manager claiming it is a short squeeze hell. People are crying. Once every few years, people get to learn all over again the meaning of gamma squeeze. Now, gamma squeeze, that's a transient increase in the stock price due to an investor buying options to drive up the price due to option sellers needing to hedge their trades on the underlying stock. If you're a hedge fund manager, I can only imagine that this is a fairly miserable place to be right now, financially speaking. There's some unverified videos doing the rounds on social media of investment managers going absolutely nuts, smashing up their offices in reaction to these price movements. I'm not going to share those because they're not yet verified, and I think it would be unfair to do so. But it is no coincidence, in my opinion, that this event with GameStop and all the other shorted stocks comes so soon after Joe Biden was inaugurated as the new US president. I've got no doubt that this will be gaining a lot of attention within his new administration, including new Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. In fact, the White House has confirmed that Yellen is monitoring the situation with the Treasury team, with the White House economic team, and they're looking at what's happening with GameStop and other heavily shorted companies. That's according to the White House press secretary. This story is not over yet, but for now, this open letter on Reddit, which I'll link to in the description, I think it offers a useful insight into some of the motivations behind many of the retail investors attempting to send GameStop to the moon. Keep in mind, though, what usually comes with that phrase, to the moon and back again. There is no real fundamental support behind this stock price. It's all sentiment. So what goes up will ultimately come down. What do you make of this situation with WallStreetBets, with GameStop, with all of these other shorted stocks? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford, and remember, when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.